Hello everyone, I'm Sneha, a third year MBBS student at AIIMS Nagpur. And today in this session, we'll be doing previous year questions from the chapter Ecosystem. So let's get first question. So the first question is that it is a match the following. We have to match the options with their correct answer. So we have A, B, C, and D. A is earthworm, B is succession, C is ecosystem service, and D is population. So earthworm, uh, out of these options, earthworm would match with detrivore. Why? Because earthworm is an example of detrivore. What is detrivore? It is an organism that helps in decomposition. So earthworms are present in the soil and they help in the decomposition. Succession in a particular ecosystem is usually by the pioneer species. So, pioneer species they start the succession of a particular place. Ecosystem services are the services that are provided to us by the ecosystem free of cost. So, for example, fresh oxygen is being provided by the ecosystem. Pollination is example of one such service. And then we have amongst the factors of population growth, one of them is natality. What is natality? Natality is actually the number of births during a given period. Natality, number of births in a period. Okay. So next we have pollination. We'll know about ecosystem services. So ecosystem services are the products of ecosystem processes that are provided to us free of cost. Example of ecosystem services is healthy forest ecosystem. They purify air and water. They mitigate droughts and floods. Okay. So succession, the pioneer species. What is the definition of pioneer species? It is the species that invades a bare area in succession. So we have earthworm, which is a detrivore. A, we have option second. So we have detrivore is option two. Pioneer species is one. Succession is fourth. And natality, it is third. So answer should be two, one, four, and three, which is option D. So answer for question number one is option D. Moving on to the next one. Which of the following pairs have correct combination? So question number two. We are asked about sedimentary nutrient cycle and gaseous cycle. So nutrient cycles can be either sedimentary or gaseous. Example of gaseous nutrient cycle, we have carbon and sulfur. So for carbon and nitrogen is considered to be gaseous nutrient cycle because the nutrient pool, most of the nutrient pool is concentrated in the gaseous part itself, which is for carbon, we have carbon dioxide and nitrogen, it exists in N2 form. Okay. Sulfur and phosphorus, on the other hand, sulfur and phosphorus, they are mainly limited to the sedimentary nutrient cycle. So they are mostly present in the rocks. Sulfur and phosphorus are found in the rocks mainly. Okay, so we have correct answer as option D. Moving on to the next one, we have question number three. Question number three is we have to we need to fill in the blanks. We have consumers, which E, then consumers are taken up by A, and C is also taken up by C by the process of D is taken up by A, and then we have soil solution. B is taken up by soil solution, and C by the process soil solution is taken up by C by the process of uptake. Okay, so in this particular graph, we'll start up with C. So C is being taken up by consumer, C is being taken up by A, and what is C uptaking? It is uptaking soil solution. So C should be producers, that is plant. Produce plants, they grow in soil, so they take up nutrients from the soil solution, and plants are being eaten up by consumers. Okay. So C for sure is producers. Now we'll have a look at the other options. Now we need to find out A. So consumers, they are uptaken by A. Consumers, they after decomposition, they form detritus. So A is what? A is detritus, which is the decomposed fat. Detritus is the decomposed fat which is taken up by soil solution. And B is rock. The rocks, they are after fragmentation, they produce the soil solution. Now we need to know how producers they form detritus. So process of litter fall. Litter fall is what? It is like shedding of leaves. It is known as litter fall. So if we just name A, B, C, and D. C, we know it was what? Producers. B is what? Rock. Rocks after fragmentation they form soil solution. A right here we have detritus solution. And detritus is formed after what process? It is formed after decomposition. And D is litter fall. So in option A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D, out of option A, B, C, and D, we have option C, which is the correct one. Moving on to the next one, we have in relation to gross primary productivity and net primary productivity of a system, which of the following is correct? So we have two terms in this question, which is gross primary productivity. We'll represent it with the help of GPP. And then we have net primary productivity, which is NPP. So, gross primary productivity, how do we define gross primary productivity? It is the rate of production of organic matter. Okay. So, gross primary productivity is the rate of production of organic matter. And net primary productivity is what? It is gross primary productivity minus respiration. So, we know that plants they produce organic matter. So, the rate with which they produce organic matter is GPP. But we also know that some amount of energy is being used up or is being wasted by the plants in respiration. So the net amount which is left with us after deducting these losses is actually the net primary productivity. And we have to subtract the energy that is being used in the net primary productivity after subtracting it from GPP. So obviously, we know it from the equation right here. GPP is supposed to be greater than NPP. Okay, so gross productivity is always more than net primary productivity. And where is the maximum net primary productivity seen? It is seen in swamps, it is seen in marshes, and in tropical rainforest. So these systems right here, they have the maximum net primary productivity. And the minimum or the lowest net primary productivity. Minimum net primary productivity is seen in deserts. Let us take a look at the options. They have given option A, which is gross primary productivity, is always more than net primary productivity, which is our answer. So option A is correct. So B option is that gross primary productivity and net primary productivity are same, which is not the correct option. We have to subtract the losses from gross primary productivity. Okay, so option A is correct. Moving on to the next one, we have the slow rate of decomposition of fallen logs in nature is due to. Now we have the factors affecting decomposition. So, as a matter of fact, there is a decrease in decomposition where there is low moisture content. Okay. So, in areas of low moisture content, because microbes or the earthworms, which we call as decomposers, they need or optimum moisture for their growth and functioning. So, in areas of low moisture content, we'll be having slow rate of decomposition. Okay. So, we have poor nitrogen content. This is not the case of fallen logs. They have high nitrogen content. Anaerobic conditions, it actually promotes decomposition. Moving on to the next one, which of the following ecosystem has highest annual net primary productivity? Question number 6, we have to find the highest net primary productivity. So we just listed the names right here. We'll list them again. It is seen in tropical rainforests or marshes or swamps. So these are the three places where we see the highest primary productivity. Right. Option is option D, which is tropical rainforest. And where are tropical rainforests found? These are found in the equator. If we consider this as Earth, so this right here, which is the central line, is the equator. This is what? It is the equator. And in the area nearby, near the equator, we have tropical rainforest. So tropical rainforest, they have optimum amount of sunlight, very high amount of sunlight that is actually reaching to these areas. And also we have warm and humid climate, which supports evergreen plants. And what is the rate of productivity? It is 12,000 kilocalories per meter square per year. Okay. So moving on next, which of the following is expected to have the highest value in a grassland ecosystem? We know that producers, or which are the primary producers, they form organic matter. And this rate of formation of organic matter, it is defined as the gross primary productivity, GPP. So gross primary productivity is the rate of formation of organic producers. When we subtract the respiratory losses, the quantity that we get is the net primary productivity. What is actually available after all the losses? So gross primary productivity is always greater than net primary productivity. Then we have secondary production, which is the rate of production of organic matter by the consumers. So there is a decrease, there is a rule of 10%. So the production or the organic compound which is produced at each successive level, it decreases down. Okay. So grasslands, they have highest value of gross production. Net production is obtained after subtracting the respiratory utilization from gross production. And secondary and tertiary production, they are the secondary and tertiary consumers. Moving on to the next one, we have nematophores. So what are nematophores? Nematophores actually special roots. It is a modification of root. So special roots which aid in respiration. Okay. They are specialized roots that grow from underground roots and they protrude out of the soil surface. So if we consider a normal plant, suppose this plant, so the roots they are positively geotropic. What does geotropic means? That they have affinity towards gravity. They grow towards gravity. But in the case of pneumatophores, this right here is the plant, and the roots will grow on above the surface. So these roots are growing above the surface and they are relatively geotrophic. What is the function of these specialized roots? They help in respiration. Okay. So they also ask about the function of pneumatophores. So the function of pneumatophores is respiration. And where are they seen? They are seen in plants that grow in marsh areas. Okay. So let us have a look at the options. So pneumatophores are characteristic of plants that grow in marshy places and salt lakes, which is option C. We have question number 9, which is the greatest biomass autotrophs in the oceans. So in oceans, what are we asked about? We have been asked about the greatest biomass. So greatest biomass is usually of free floating microalgae. Then we have bacteria. Then we have nanoplankton. So these three species, when combined, they form the greatest biomass of our autotrophs in oceans. Okay. Moving on to the next one. What is niche? Question number 10. We have niche. So niche is actually the term given to the functional role played by a species where it lives. Okay. So niche, who coined this term? Niche was coined by Joseph Grinnell. Okay, so it is a functional role. A species, when wherever it is present, it forms a part of the ecosystem and it has certain functions that it has to play. Okay, moving on to the next one, question number 11. the rate at which light energy is converted to the chemical energy of organic molecules in the biosystem. So this right here is a plant, and this is the solar energy. So it takes this solar or light energy, this plant, this takes up light energy and converts it to chemical energy. And what is this chemical energy? It produces biomass. So the rate of production of this biomass or this chemical energy, it is termed as gross primary productivity. So rate of production of chemical energy is termed as gross primary production. Okay. And when we subtract the respiratory losses, what we get is net primary productivity. NPP, which is the net primary productivity, is GPP minus respiratory losses. Moving on to the next one, which of the following ecosystem has highest rate of gross primary productivity? Question number 12. We have the highest rate of gross primary productivity. It is shown either by the tropical rainforests, which are present near the equator. So we have tropical rainforests, or we have marshy areas, or we have swamps. So these three regions or these three areas of highest rate of gross primary production. Okay. And what is the primary production here? The rate of production is just 12,000 kilocalorie per meter square per year. So you can imagine how much of produced by these areas. Okay. And reefs, they are also called as the rainforest of the sea. Coral reefs, what is the other name given to coral reefs? Is known as the rainforest of sea. Why is this so? It forms the most diverse ecosystem on Earth. It forms the most diverse ecosystem on Earth, and it has a high species diversity. Okay, so there is a high species diversity present due to which highest GPP in the sea. Highest GPP in sea is shown by what? It is shown by coral reefs. Moving on to the next question, we have again definition of niche. So niche, and the term niche was actually coined by Joseph Grinnell. Coined by Joseph Grinnell, and it is the functional role played by a species with the place of its occurrence, which is option A. Okay, so niche is a specific part of habitat that is determine the functioning of the population, such as shelter, type of food, season. Which of the following plants does not have stomata? Stomata, which are the structures responsible for gaseous exchange. And what is the shape of stomata? It can be either kidney shaped, that is bean shaped, in which plants in dicots, or dumbbell shaped. So kidney shaped or dumbbell shaped. Knee shaped in dicots, whereas dumbbell shaped in monocots. So stomata are actually absent in submerged plants. Okay. Submerged hydrophytes, the whole plant body is underwater. Example of a submerged hydrophyte is the Ratophyllum and Utricularia. In these plants, the stomata is absent and the gaseous exchange it takes place through the general body surface. Okay, so gaseous exchange in submerged xerophytes through general body surface. Okay, moving on to the next question, we have question number 15th. If we completely remove the decomposers, so decomposers, they are removed. Decomposers are removed from an ecosystem. What would be the main effect on the ecosystem? So, what would be the effect? So, decomposers, the main role of decomposers is to maintain the mineral movement in the sedimentary cycle. So, main function of decomposer is mineral cycling. So mineral cycling can either be in gaseous cycle or in sedimentary cycle. So decomposers, they essentially regulate sedimentary cycle. So mineral cycling in sedimentary cycle is actually maintained by the decomposers. So in case decomposers are absent, the mineral movement will be blocked. Okay. So option D, they have given the rate of decomposition will be very high, which is actually quite the opposite. The rate of decomposition would be very low in case decomposers are not absent. Solar energy would be received by herbivores. There is no problem in that, and energy flow would be blocked. Okay. So option C is that the decomposers, what is the function of decomposers? They act on the dead organic matter and break them down into the simpler compounds and minerals. Which of the following is the most stable ecosystem? Oh, question number 16th, we have most stable ecosystem, and the most stable ecosystem is actually ocean. Okay. So the ocean, they cover how much? About two-thirds of the whole surface of Earth. And it is the most stable ecosystem because of the buffering action by water. Question number 17th, we have in a biotic community the most important factor for survival of an animal. We know most important for survival is what? Food. It is actually air, but amongst the options that are being given to us, it is food. So food is the most important for survival, which is option C. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 18th. So bulk CO2 fixation. CO2 fixation means production of biomass or organic compounds. So, as a matter of fact, bulk CO2 fixation usually occurs in oceans. Okay. Moving on to the next one, we have to define decomposers. Question number 19. Decomposers. Decomposers are the organisms that convert the organic compound, organic matter, by the exchange of enzymes, organism, which simple soluble forms. Okay. So it is given right here that decomposers, where do they act? They act on the dead bodies and they convert the complex organic constituents into simple soluble forms. Where do they obtain their energy from? They obtain their energy from dead organisms. And decomposer themselves are what are some examples of decomposer? We have fungi, we have earthworms, we have bacteria, and they break down the organic matter and they derive energy from the organic matter. They gain nutrients, they gain energy, and they accelerate the natural process of decomposition. Okay. So they supply the required nutrients to other trophic level, and the fungi that is found on the tree are an example of decomposition. So when an organism dies, so an organism, if it dies, there it will leave behind nutrients that are tightly bound together. So we have the dead organism. So decomposers will act on it and they'll cause breakdown to release the nutrients and minerals. Okay. So decomposers are actually very essential for our biodiversity because they help in the nutrient cycling. Moving on to the next, we have the study of interrelationships between organisms and their environment. So this is the definition for the term ecology. Question number 20. Ecology. Ecology, who gave the term ecology? It is Ernst Haeckel. Ernst Haeckel, he gave the term ecology, and the definition is ecology is the study of interrelationship between organisms and environment. Okay. So, ecosystem, it consists of different communities of organism and the physical environment with which they interact. Phytogeography is the study of geographic distribution of species on Earth. Okay. So we have option A as the correct one. Next, we have the term ecology. We just said now ecology was termed given by Ernst Haeckel, and ecosystem. This term is given by Sir Arthur George Tensley. So we have okay pedology. We have question number 22. Pedology is actually the study of soil. What is soil? Soil is the uppermost layer of Earth's crust, and what is soil formed up of? It is composed of minerals and partially decomposed organic matter. Who decomposes this organic matter? The term is decomposer. Example, we have fungi and earthworm. So pedologist, who is a pedologist? It, a scientist who studies origin, composition, and distribution of soil and the materials from which soil is made. So, in short, we have pedology as the study of soil, which is option A. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 23. We have been asked about the greatest producer of organic matter. So, the greatest producer of organic matter are actually phytoplankton, which is the other name for algae, and they are present in the ocean. Okay, so phytoplankton, which are the algae of oceans, they are the greatest producer of organic matter. And right here we have option D. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 24. Upper part of sea or aquatic ecosystem, what does it contain? So, upper part contains of planktons. What is plankton? It is an organism that passively floats in upper water. It is actually an algae. So it is an app that passively floats without any expenditure of energy. It passively floats in upper water. We have other option which so plankton was option A. We have necton and we have benthus. So let us learn about these terms. Necton is actually an actively swimming organism. So it has to need energy to swim. So actively swimming organism is what? It is necton and benthus. It is present at bottom of the sea. Present at bottom of sea. Okay. And they have asked about what? They've asked about the upper part of sea. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 25. Question number 25. The most animals that live in deep oceanic water are, where are the animals residing? They reside in deep oceanic water. And the organisms are usually detrivores. And what are detrivores? They are decomposers. Okay. So decomposers are present in deep oceanic water and they help in the decomposition of dead organisms into simpler forms and minerals. Okay, moving on to the next one, we have question number 20, which is the vertical distribution of different species that occupy different levels in a biotic community. This is the definition for the term stratification. So, what is stratification? It is the vertical distribution. Vertical distribution of different species at different levels. Okay. So stratification is the occurrence of vertical zonation in the ecosystem at it and it indicates the presence of favorable environmental conditions. The more levels we have, the more vertical distribution we have, it is better for an ecosystem. For example, trees that occupy the top vertical strata of or layer of a forest, the shrubs they occupy the second layer, herbs and grasses they occupy the bottom layer. So this different layer, the formation of different layers is what we call as stratification. In plants, in parts where there is hostile environmental conditions are present, this phenomena or this mechanism is usually so it is absent or it is relatively poor where environmental conditions are unfavorable. Example is deserts. They do not have stratification. They will be having very few trees or shrubs. That is it. Okay. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 27th. The mass of living material at a trophic level at a particular time. This is the definition for standing crop. What is standing crop? Is the amount of living biomass in an ecosystem. And what does it indicate? It indicates the productivity and luxuriance of a group. Okay, so it indicates the productivity of an system, of a system. Okay, and how do we express standing crop? What is the formula? So standing crop, it is number or biomass of organism per unit area. So number or biomass per unit. Okay. So next we have in an ecosystem the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. So this right here is the definition for mm, gross primary productivity. So gross primary productivity is what? It is the rate of production of biomass or accumulation of energy by green plants per unit area per unit time. So what is the formula for GPP? It is the rate of production of biomass. So biomass produced per unit area per unit time. So this right here is GPP. What is NPP? NPP is the net primary productivity. Net primary productivity is GPP minus respiratory losses. And what factors does GPP depend on? It depends on the chlorophyll content. More is the chlorophyll, more would be the C3 and C4 cycles, and more amount of energy or biomass would be actually produced. Moving on to the next one, which of the following processes during decomposition is correctly described? So we have four options. We have option A as humification. What is the definition given for humification? They have said that humification it leads to accumulation of a dark colored substance, humus, which undergoes microbial action at a very fast rate. It is wrong. This statement right here is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because humification it actually occurs at a very slow rate. Humification process is very slow. Moving on next, we have option B, which is catabolism. And the definition that they've given is actually incorrect. Then we have leaching, which is water soluble inorganic nutrients. They do not rise to the top layers of soil. And fragmentation they are given as the example is given as fragmentation is usually carried out by decomposers. Okay. An example of decomposer is either earthworm or other example we have right here is fungi. Okay. So humification, catabolism, leaching, and fragmentation, they are actually the steps of decomposition. What are the steps of decomposition? We have humification, then we have catabolism, then we have leaching and fragmentation. These are the four steps which operate simultaneously on the detritus. So fragmentation is what? It is the break of detritus into smaller particles by detrivores. And by what are the example of detrivores? It is examples are earthworm. By the process of leaching, water soluble inorganic compounds or inorganic nutrients, they go down into the soil horizon. They have mentioned that it goes upward, but actually it goes downwards and they get precipitated. And the first option they have given that humification very fast rate, which is incorrect. Humification is a very slow process. Okay. Moving on to the next one, secondary productivity is we have to define secondary productivity. So, question number 30. Secondary productivity is the rate of form of organic matter by consumers. So, rate of formation of organic matter by consumers. So, this right here is secondary productivity. It depends upon the loss while the energy is being transferred from the previous trophic level plus function due to respiration and predation. Respiratory loss is about 20% for autotrophs, 30% for herbivores, and up to 60% in case of carnivores. Therefore, the net productivity it decreases with each trophic level. Moving on to the next, we have question number 31. We have first trophic level, we have second trophic level, third, and then fourth. So first trophic level we know is formed by grass. Second trophic level is formed by rabbit. Rabbit, it eats grass. Grass is being eaten by rabbit. Rabbit in turn is eaten by what? It is eaten by crow. So the crow it eats rabbit. So crow is on the third trophic. And vulture it tends to eat crow. Therefore it is on the fourth trophic level. So for the options A, B, C, D, A is fourth trophic level, which is by vulture. Option second. B is second trophic level, and second trophic level is by rabbit, option 3. Then we have C as the first trophic level, which is by grass, and D is third trophic level. Third trophic level is by crow. We have 2, 3, 4, and 1, which is option D. Okay. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 32. Question 32, which of the following ecological pyramids is generally inverted? So, inverted, this is a ecological pyramid. On the base, we have the producers, then we have consumers, and the trophic level increases. So, in case of inverted ecological pyramid, we have less producers and more consumers. Okay. So, this is firstly we need to define ecological pyramid. Uh, Ecological pyramid, it is a graphical representation that illustrates the flow of energy through different forms of life in an ecosystem. Okay. So it is generally inverted in case of pyramid of biomass in a sea. So inverted is seen in what? Sea biomass. Why is it inverted? Because the biomass of fishes, it is more than that of phytoplankton. So in case of sea, we have phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons are what? Phytoplanktons are producers. And then we have the consumers. What is an example of consumer? Fishes. So in case of inverted pyramid, we have the fishes. It is actually more than that of phytoplanktons. Normally, what do we see is that the number of producers is more than that of consumers. But in this particular case, the amount or the number of consumers is more than that of producers. Okay. So how what are the features of pyramid of biomass in a sea? The food chain that is seen is phytoplankton, it's eaten by zooplankton, and zooplankton in turn is consumed by predatory fish. So we have phytoplankton, then we have zooplankton, then we have fishes. Okay. So zooplankton, the biomass is more than that of phytoplankton because they have small size and low weight. Okay. The producers of oceans or aquatic system, they are phytoplanktons and they have a short lifespan and turnover. Okay. So they have short lifespan. So how does the biomass of a trophic level depend? It actually depends on the longevity of the member. Which of the following ecological pyramid with the following data? We have question number 33. So primary producer is 10 gram, then primary consumer. We'll just write out the information. We have we have primary consumer, then we have secondary consumer. Primary producer is how much? 10 gram. Then we have 60 gram. Then we have 120 gram. Okay. So this right here, producer is actually less than consumer. So this is an inverted pyramid of biomass. This is what? Inverted pyramid of biomass. Yeah. So the given data, it depicts the inverted pyramid of biomass. And where is it present? We just saw the example now. It is seen in aquatic ecosystem. Upright pyramid of biomass and numbers are not usually possible as the given in the data is the number of primary producer, it is less than that of primary consumer, and which in turn is less than that of secondary consumer. So this is just an example because in real life, the pyramid of energy is always upright. So pyramid of energy is always upright. Moving on to the next one, which ecosystem has maximum biomass? Maximum biomass is by forest ecosystem. Okay. So forest ecosystem has the maximum biomass. What are some other examples of highly productive ecosystem? We have rainforest. We have coral reefs. What is the other name given for coral reefs? They are known as rainforest of sea. Then we have sugarcane fields, which is a man-made ecosystem. So sugarcane fields also have a very high biomass. Moving on to the next one, we have question number 35. Which of the following is a characteristic feature of cropland ecosystem? So, cropland System is an example of man-made ecosystem. And what are the features of man-made ecosystem? That there is very low diversity. In man-made ecosystem, we have low diversity and high. So these are the two features that can be seen within man-made ecosystem. Okay, so soil organisms are present even in a cropland ecosystem, and the genetic diversity is very less. Weeds are present in our man-made ecosystem, that is cropland, and there is also ecological succession. So the correct this question is option B. And with this, we finish our series of questions on the chapter ecosystem, total of 35 questions. Thank you.